don't like. Not that I don't see Rusev being a champion or being a good United States champion. I think he's a monster, and I love the way they're using him as a monster. But, of course, they're going to continue this push of Roman Reigns, and since nobody's buying him as the world champ, this is the only title they can really put on him at the moment. So I don't see this belt flip-flopping back and forth between the two of them. So I feel Roman Reigns will continue his reign as United States champion. A match that was added that I really hope it's a little less of a disaster than the one that they had on Raw. Bayley takes on Dana Brooke. Brooke is talented. Brooke has ability, but she's still raw. She still needs some fine-tuning, and she cannot afford to work with somebody who can't carry her a little bit. Bayley, very talented, individual-wise, fan favorite, but I don't know if she's the type that can carry someone that doesn't work as well as her. Bayley has to win this match. If not, you're just burying Bayley further and further out of the championship picture. Dana Brooke right now is basically just a piece of jewelry or a purse of Charlotte, and eventually she's going to get thrown away or kicked to the curb. I really would love to see Dana Brooke take a face turn and turn on Charlotte, causing her a match or something, but that remains to be seen. So I'm taking Bayley. The Hell in a Cell match number 2 sees the Universal Champion. I can't believe I'm saying that with a straight face. That's probably why I yawned. The Universal Champion, Kevin Owens, takes on Seth Rollins. Will the Architect begin his destruction of the Authority and pull down everything they're building up? Does Stephanie McMahon finally show her true colors and screw over Seth Rollins? Does Triple H make a comeback and screw over Seth Rollins? All this uncertainty just points to Kevin Owens retaining the title. I don't see Seth Rollins winning the championship. Maybe that's a WrestleMania thing against Triple H. I really don't know. Maybe he wins the title and then he fights Triple H for the championship at WrestleMania. And honestly, I think Kevin Owens is going to retain the championship. That's just my opinion. So I don't think it's going to be clean. Don't get me wrong. First ever Hell in a Cell match number 3. First ever Hell in a Cell women's match. Sasha Banks, the women's champion for Raw, takes on the former champ Charlotte for the 485th time. Of course, this match is for the title. The Hell in a Cell obviously negates Dana Brooke being part of it, unless Dana Brooke gets involved somehow and costs Charlotte the match. As much as I am not, and I repeat, not a Sasha Banks fan, Sasha Banks, I think, retains the championship. You take the title away from her immediately, one pay-per-view after winning it, just like last time, you're just showing the WWE Universe you have absolutely no faith in her ability. And what's the point of even putting the belt on her? So, Sasha Banks retains in the first ever female Hell in a Cell match. And I think that's it, folks. I mean, that's pretty much it for the it's that's what I kind of don't like about these brand split pay-per-views, is that there's only so much you can put on, there's only so much time you can kill, but they're gonna try to find a way to kill time. So, but alright, so without that being said, we're gonna take a commercial break. When we come back, we're gonna come back with our interview from TNA Knockout Allie. I will let you know that there was a little audio interruption in the interview due to the weather again, but We try to edit it as good as possible, so be patient. If it goes dead for about 4 seconds, don't think that we got kicked off the air. We are still here. So we'll be back in a couple of moments. Well, no, we're going to commercial break, then the interview, so we won't be back in a couple of moments. You enjoy. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this interview by the wrestler formerly known as Cherry Bomb, now in TNA, Allie, the former Knockouts champion.
The following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
This is the hardcore icon, Just Incredible, and you're listening to Damage 365 Radio. Now that's not just the coolest, that's not just the best. Damage 365 Radio, now that's just incredible.
Wrestling Superstore, selling wrestling memorabilia from all around the world, including WWE, TNA, Japan, Mexico, and the very best of the independents. They've got action figures, DVDs, autographed memorabilia, t-shirts, and more. Plus, stop in and get tickets for great promotions like UWA Elite, CZW, and many others. Located indoors at the world-famous English Town Flea Market, Green Building, booth number 35 on 90 Wilson Avenue, Manalapan Township, New Jersey. Open every Saturday and Sunday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Log on to Facebook.com/Funkenstein Inc. for more information.
Join Brandon Lewis and Christopher Scythe Bracey every Tuesday night on YouTube.com/2KW at 8:30 p.m. as they bring you the matches and moments that make 2KW Pro the heart of New York City. 2KW Pro, your company, your wrestling.
This is Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and you're listening to Damaged Radio 365. Yeah, baby!
The following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
What's going on, love? This is Ariane Andrew here. You guys are listening to Damage 365 Radio. Yes!
Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to welcome in at this time current Impact star, TNA, Allie. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, there's a lot of things we like to ask you, but we kind of like, with everybody, we like to start kind of from the beginning. From the beginning.
Like in the 90s, the women weren't prominently showcased as wrestlers. A lot of them were managers.
Right.
So that was the role that I thought that women played in professional wrestling. So it wasn't until I saw Trish and Lita and Victoria and Jazz, like, '90s when I remember the most of it, it was like Marlena and Sunny and Sable, and they weren't really wrestling.
Yeah, there wasn't much wrestling going on during that era until kind of China got involved, and like you said, Lita and Trish, and we just had Victoria. And this should be the last of our audio issues as soon as it comes back on. It should be non-stop until the end. We apologize. Lightning does some crazy stuff to
and then in the early 90s, it kind of disappeared, and then in the mid-90s,
training. He had also trained, Gail Kim had trained with him after she trained with Ron Hutchinson. So Gail Kim had gone there and worked with him, and Taylor Wilde and Angelina Love. So he had worked with these, successful females, and Taylor Wilde was in the class right before mine. Mm-hmm. So it just seemed like the right sort of fit for me. And I started training there in September 2004. Okay.
And when did you officially get into the indie scene?
So it's so funny. Like, I think that people, when they start wrestling training, they have a kind of an idea of where they want to go or what their goal is. And I remember back then, like, the thought of being in WWE or TNA or anywhere, like, didn't even cross my mind. Because honestly, I was so, it was really unathletic. And everything was so hard that I honestly couldn't even imagine what it would be like to have a real match. And I know that sounds really weird, and probably a lot of wrestlers wouldn't even admit that, but everything was so hard for me. Like, taking bumps, running under leapfrogs, like just basic wrestling training was so hard. But eventually, I had my first match in May 2005. So it was all, maybe like 8 or 9 months after I started training. And I had it in Oshawa, Ontario. And I can't remember the name of the company. Maybe Warrior One Wrestling, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, it was probably the hardest thing I had ever physically done was wrestling training.
Oh, God. So you got this small, frail, unathletic girl and getting into the ring to do something that's probably the most athletic thing in the world that you can do is wrestle. And how did it feel when you took your first major bump? I mean, did it did it make you doubt yourself, or it was like, oh my God, I want to do this. This is it. I know for a fact this is what I want to do.
Oh, okay. My first bump was horrible. Like, nothing prepares you for that. Like, unless you've been hit by a car or something, like, maybe you would anticipate what that feels like, but it was awful. And I hit my head, like, over and over because you need to, like, tuck your chin, and it was a really hard process for me. Because I've never played sports. I hate getting dirty. Like, I guess I'm like a girly girl. Like, so it was really challenging for me. But, and I guess I should have said this at the beginning when I decided to start training. I grew up watching with my dad, and my dad passed away when I was 12. And when he passed away, it, obviously left a pretty big void for me. And, so wrestling is kind of what kept me close to his memory. Okay. So when I started wrestling training, as hard as it was, I just constantly thought about him and what he would want me to do, and this passion for the wrestling business just sort of evolved, and I just realized, like, this is going to be the hardest thing I'm ever going to do, but if I quit now, like, what if this ends up being like my dream and I'm just quitting, So I kind of kept it in the back of my head, but it was very, very hard. Like, I can't stress that enough. It was very hard.
Okay. When did you take on the persona of Cherry Bomb?
So Cherry Bomb was when I started wrestling training. I had pink bangs. I was a little bit like a punk rocker in high school, and I sort of kept the colored hair as I got older, I guess. And my trainer, he called me Cherry Bomb. He just said, that's going to be your name. You have a lot of energy, and you're